Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show.
There was a week when I lost my voice and I had to teach. and one of the I just had to teach, and I have a soft voice in general for teaching. So one thing I experimented was this voice to text or text to voice app. And I set it up because there's some common phrases I use, like Eric, be quiet please, or something. So I would make a list of phrases and a list of names, and in class I spent the whole class teaching using just the text to speech. I didn't say a word, and I would click on Eric, and then I'd click be quiet, or okay, everyone open your worksheet, or get ready for the quiz. And it was really interesting. I mean, I wouldn't do it daily, but I found that the students got a kick out of it. and I managed to teach 2 days using that, and it worked.
Welcome back to another episode of iPad Pros. Joining us today is returning guest Rishi, who you may have heard back in September 2022 on episode 152, where we talked about Pixelmator Photo, which is now called Photomator, as our focus topic. In today's episode, he's joining us to talk about his experiences teaching children in Thailand English and how the iPad has become an integral tool for that work. And we also dive in a fair bit into how he uses the iPad as a tool for live performance for harmonica. So those are just some of the things we are diving into in this episode. As a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. By either subscribing in Apple Podcasts or supporting Patreon, you'll get early access to both this podcast and Vision Pros. And as a quick reminder, if you haven't reviewed the podcast in Apple Podcasts, I'd really appreciate you just spending a minute to do just that. Every review goes a long way in helping show this podcast more in search. With that, here's my interview with Rishi. Enjoy. Welcome back to the podcast, Rishi.
Hey, Tim. Good to see you again.
You as well. It's been a bit. September 2022 is when you were last on, and it's almost September 2024, so about 2 years here.
Yeah.
And a fair bit's happened, and last time you were on, it was all about photography. That was when I was doing the run of, focusing on different photo editing apps, and this time we're going to focus on teaching. You're teaching English out in Taiwan, and a couple other things we're going to touch on as well. But yeah, I just wanted to, first off, welcome back, and any kind of just opening statements from last year's we're sharing.
Not much. I mean, I'm, like you said, I'm teaching about 20 hours a week, kids in Taiwan, and the rest of my time I spend on my hobbies, music, film, and nature.
Very cool. And in the notes you sent me, I'm seeing a Magic Keyboard that looks like it's been through some kind of war or something. This is just wild to me. I've got a little beat up, but my mind's still intact. You're like the camera ring's all ripped out. Explain yourself here. What's going on here?
Yeah, nothing in particular. I mean, I think I'm fairly good with my equipment.
Yeah.
And my iPad itself, my 2020 iPad Pro, it seems like in perfect condition. I don't even see any scratches on the screen. But my Magic Keyboard is really gotten beat up. I've never seen another Magic Keyboard like mine. It's from the edges, all the rubber's peeled off. You can see the white underneath, and the back of it, where the magnetic part where I connect my iPad.
Yeah,
that's growing fungus.
Well, that's not good
because it's very humid in Taiwan, and so this Magic Keyboard. It's amazing that it works perfectly, but it does not look perfect at all.
Yeah, man. I would be curious what Apple would say with Apple Care replaced on that one. If you have Apple Care.
It's been more than 2 years, so no, not anymore.
Okay. And did they have the monthly Apple Care when you got your Pro back then?
Not that I know of.
Okay, because right now you can buy the 2 years, and then when the 2 years is up, you can opt in for the monthly after that to kind of keep it going as long as they'll support it.
Well, it's a little bit late for me now.
Little
So
bit, yeah. Yeah, iPad Pro 2020 is when that one came out, right? So it's been 4 years since that model hit.
hmm
Are you still happy? You got the 11-inch, 256 gigabyte, and yeah, how's that one serving you still?
Yeah, I love it. I have the excuse my cough, my lingering cough from a cold I had. But it's a 2020 11-inch iPad Pro, 256 GB,
Oh wait, this
and
is a year before the M1, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2021 was M1. I was yeah, my mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about what I want and what I have,
Yes.
but but what I have right now, if you want to know, is like I said, my 2020 iPad Pro, 11-inch. Got the Magic Keyboard as I've shown you. Um, I also have a Smart Folio, which is very useful for me. An Apple Pencil. Yeah, that's my iPad setup.
And is the Smart Folio in a little bit better shape?
No,
Oh, it's not. Okay.
no.
I thought one might have gotten the brunt of the. Is your theory the humidity that's really taking a beating? Because like it doesn't get a break from that very often.
Well, maybe part of it, but the thing is, I use my iPad like crazy. It's my most used tool. I don't have another computer. I just
Yeah.
have my iPad and my iPhone. It's gone with me everywhere in all sorts of conditions. Um, and just because I'm running around, I don't really think too much about babying it. I definitely don't baby it. But yeah, it's probably the fungus is, I'm sure, from the humidity, which
Yeah.
is pretty bad. But all the wear and tear, I think, is just the design of it. I know. I wish it was. Maybe I wish it was aluminum, but I don't want it any heavier.
Right. Yes. Yeah. With the new models, the exterior is aluminum, and the interior is aluminum. The exterior is still the old material, and it's lighter weight because basically they were able to take out inside the Magic Keyboard. They put in weights, so it doesn't topple over. So it's actually lighter weight because the iPads are lighter. So I'd be curious how that one does. I'd imagine it'd just separate really quickly out there, and I'm curious what that would end up looking like and how that would be.
Well, maybe we can talk about it 4 years from now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'd imagine a teacher in Taiwan doesn't make a bunch of money to update their gear every cycle.
Yeah, that's right.
If you did have the budget for a new iPad and setup, what would your model be?
The 11-inch Pro is everything I want, but the 11-inch Air is everything I need. So I'm not
Mm,
sure.
yeah.
I would like ideally I would get the 11-inch Pro M4 with 1 terabyte, and I would get the nano texture screen and Apple Pencil, and that would be my ideal purchase. But it's pretty pricey for me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, in fact I wanted to ask you. I was thinking, should I go for another 4 or 5 year iPad, like the 11-inch iPad Pro, or should I get a 2 year iPad Air, which does everything I need, but it doesn't have that nano texture, it doesn't have that landscape camera. Um,
It does have the
uh,
landscape camera.
it does?
Yes, they moved it there too.
Oh, are you sure? Okay, I didn't know that.
Positive, yeah.
Okay,
Because it
that's
also
good.
works with the Apple Pencil Pro,
Okay,
which
that's
is the
right.
thing that supports that landscape camera. But I, I personally am a fan of spending a bit more in using the iPad many more years. Like
Right.
I held on to my M1 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and I'm going to keep
Yeah.
that for at least another cycle or two because it's still a great iPad. And that 10.5-inch iPad Pro, which was 7 to 8 years old, is what replaced it with my 11-inch that I got. So this iPad replaces a 7 to 8 year old iPad. So these things last a long time, as you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, the damn texture. I'm excited for you to eventually get there because oh boy, is it awesome! Both inside, indoors, and outdoors. Like it just opens the iPad to be used in so many more environments. It's funny if when you just have glossy screen iPads, you don't notice the glare, but once you get like a nanotexture, you realize, oh, I've been just like adapting and dealing with this glare constantly, pretty much in every setting. It's such a nice change. Yeah.
Hey, like speaking about the nanotexture screen, I saw it at the Apple Store, and I, everyone was talking about the reflections, but the first thing I noticed is just how nice it looked. I actually didn't like the pure blacks. I felt more like paper. It felt more like reading. It felt more comfortable to my eyes. And not just that, when I used a pencil with it, my hand just slided more smoothly as I
Yeah.
was writing with a pencil.
Especially
And
in
so
the
it's,
humidity, you'll
yeah,
notice in heat and stuff, like your hands are a bit sticky on the normal glass, right?
right.
But in the nanotexture, that's not the case. Like it's drastically different in just the feel of the glasses with your finger against it, and in really good ways, I think. And yeah, it does feel a lot more like paper. Like the ebooks, like it's such a more natural experience. Like I'll even put a light on behind the iPad and have the light purposely shining on the screen, so it kind of looks really good that way. Late at night, just having a light shine on it and diffuse it the way it does.
Yeah, so for me, it's not really about the reflections as much, but it was just looking at the two screens side by side. It felt more comfortable and more natural for my eyes and more beautiful to look at the Nano screen. And my only concern would be about the durability and the fact that you're supposed to use a special cloth. But that's my only concern, but I really like it, just my first impression.
Yeah, I mean, fingerprints are less noticeable, so I found myself not needing to clean it often. I've maybe used it once, that cloth. And durability, your iPad's still in great shape, your 2020 iPad, so I'd say it's probably going to be fine for you, but if you do drop it, face down, it may be prone to scratches that other iPads aren't, kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, it really probably just depends on mostly luck on if you or if you have butterfingers, with that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have to say the 11-inch size, I really like this thing. You were right. This is a good size to be using. I like the 12-inch, the 13-inch iPad Pro as well, but it's so nice having this super thin and small iPad Pro again.
Well, the 11 inch is my size, and I'm always using it in tablet mode, handheld, as we'll talk about later with my
Mm-hmm.
teaching. And it's just like 1 pound is like the magic number for me. It's really light. The size feels good, um, and um, and yeah, I just the other thing that's interesting I don't hear many people talk about is the 13-inch aspect ratio is 4:3. The 11-inch has a wider aspect ratio,
It does.
um, and I actually like that aspect ratio better, but maybe that's just me.
It depends. Like if I'm throwing on, the Snoopy Christmas special, Charlie Brown Christmas special, I like the 4:3 because it fills the whole
Right.
screen. It's native. Some stuff the widescreen's better. It depends what you're doing. It is very weird having both sizes, so you can kind of like, oh, this one's a bit wider than you have the 4:3 ones, and it is just a bit wider. It's like almost 4:3, but not, kind of thing. Yeah.
It's more like, the 2020 iPad was exactly A4, like 1.43 to 1.
Okay.
And the 2024 11-inch iPad is a little bit wider. It's like in between. It's little not as wide as 3:2,
Yeah.
but definitely wider than 4:3. Yeah, so it's just an
Yeah.
interesting
The
tidbit.
the Apple Pencil. What kind of things are you using that for? And would the Apple Pencil Pro make any substantial difference for you at least?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose between a keyboard and mouse or an Apple Pencil, I would choose an Apple Pencil. It's extremely useful for me. I mean, I use it all the time for annotation on documents. that I scan in. We can talk about the scanner, which I
Hmm.
use heavily as well. I use it for photo and video editing. I can't imagine photo and video editing without a pencil. It just, for me, it feels
Yeah.
so natural, and also it's a pleasure to use while editing, especially photos. Um, and what else? Like the keyboard, the digital keyboard. When you make it into the small size, then I like swiping with the pencil. I can do that pretty fast actually. So yeah, and navigating the interface with the pencil and fingers is more intimate to me. So yeah, I use the pencil heavily. In fact, if I leave the home without the pencil, I'll come back to get it. And I'd say one of the problems I have with the pencil is that as I'm going to work, I'm like, where's my pencil? And I'm searching madly under my bed or under my sofa, which it often is. And I'm always getting upset that I can't just keep it. Like that's the advantage of the trackpad. It's always there. But the pencil is not. Mine is even showing micro cracks near the pencil tip, I just noticed.
Oh wow.
So it's really getting close to time for me to upgrade.
Yeah. And as far as like haptics and all that stuff, is that just like bonus fun stuff to have on there?
Actually, the I haven't used the new Apple Pencil Pro, but that squeeze thing makes a lot of sense to me theoretically because I'm always using the eraser or I'm
Mm-hmm.
always changing pen tools since I use it when I teach and use it with Freeform. And so that would be a very useful thing for me to have, as well as like I have the 2020, like the I talked to you about it before, but I was asking for a mouse over, like with a pencil or a hover over, and
Oh,
they
the
called it.
hover is so nice, I must say. It's really
Yes,
good.
so they added that. Um, but yeah, the new Pencil Pro is what I would get for sure. I
Yeah.
use it heavily.
And then finally, we're going to talk about how you use iPad in the classroom. One way you do that is with the Apple TV and AirPlay. Does hooking the iPad up to an external monitor with more direct support for an external and then also your internal screen doing something completely different, is that appealing at all, or is the way you do it now with AirPlay and having the two things be more linked and interconnected be the preferable approach?
Yeah, it's like you see a movie projector
Yeah, yeah.
or
Okay.
TV. There's a screen in the classroom, and every classroom has a projector. And there's an HDMI connector attached to the projector, a long HDMI cable. I mean, I can talk to you about the whole process of going from teaching using the whiteboard and pen to using the iPad and why I use Apple TV as well.
Yeah, yeah. I was just before we got to that, I was curious about the current way is through AirPlay and basically using that projector as a way to mirror your current application versus like what would it be like to have a separate instance where the projector acts like a monitor kind of thing.
Um, the thing was I wanted it wireless, and so that moving around the classroom and being free from that was important. But actually, the other thing was an audio problem I had,
Okay.
and Apple TV solved that problem. But one of the classrooms has a TV screen, and it's a Samsung TV. And turns out I don't need Apple TV with that one. I can
Huh.
just wirelessly connect it, and it mirrors my screen
Over
just
AirPlay?
fine. Yeah, over AirPlay.
Oh, nice.
But in the other classrooms, they have projectors, and those are dumb projectors. So you just need something if you want to use it wirelessly, and if you want to have control of the audio.
Very cool. So let's jump into teaching in English in Taiwan. Did you want to start with kind of the whole Apple TV system and what you're using it for? Like
Well,
what you're actually sharing, or do you want to start someplace else?
I'll just start off because I've actually only started teaching kids this year, so it's pretty new. Um, but in the beginning of the year. But first, I was teaching adults before and
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one. But anyways, I'm teaching a group of kids, and so I have to use the whiteboard. And I hated using the traditional whiteboard for several reasons. One, I kept getting ink all over myself. I hated that. Two, the inks ran out. I mean, my pens ran out of ink while I'm in the middle of class,
Yeah.
and they have limited pens. Like, they're not really a rich school. Three, I have to turn my back to the students when I'm using my whiteboard, and things happen when I turn my back.
People passing notes, or I'm guessing worse, maybe even.
Four, like, there's limited space. Like, it's just you need all the space of the whiteboard, so you need to keep erasing stuff and adding stuff. And another reason is just like the other problem I faced was just freedom. I was always stuck in front, and I felt like I just kind of wanted to move around and get more interactive with the students. So the first thing I tried, and I didn't know if the school was okay with it, but I noticed they had a projector. So I tried connecting the iPad directly to the HDMI cable with a dock, and I tried using Freeform to teach, and it was going pretty good, but there was a couple of problems. One problem was that I was just stuck there and I couldn't move around. I didn't really like having a cable attached to me. It felt like anything, like I could trip or someone could tumble over a cable and I couldn't move around. The second problem was the audio. Like, unfortunately, the iPad, unlike the Mac, doesn't have system level audio control for input or output. So the audio just automatically went to the projector speaker, which is
there
tiny,
is none, right?
There is one, but it's so tiny and dinky, you have to like put your ear up to it.
Yeah, right.
So that wasn't working because audio is really useful for me. So I just thought about it for a while, and like I hated using pens and the whiteboard so much, I decided to just buy an Apple TV and see if I can connect it to my Bluetooth speaker somehow and get it to work. So yeah, I bought an Apple TV, and I was able to make it. Then I could. So the Apple TV connects to the projector with HDMI, and and so I can use it in two ways. I can use it either as an Apple TV interface, where I can access YouTube or Apple TV, which sometimes I do use for class. And the other thing is I can, as you know, I can, what's it called? Screen share or something like that?
Yeah, screen mirror.
Screen mirror. Yeah, I can mirror my screen. And I had a hard time setting up the Apple TV to work with my Bluetooth speaker, but somewhere deep down in the system settings, there's a way to set your Bluetooth speaker, and I was able to get the audio to work through Bluetooth.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. That was really cool. And I would say, so just talking about using the iPad, one, I didn't have to deal with ink. I had like unlimited colored pens at my disposal. And using Freeform was huge. It's one of my favorite apps that I use for more than just teaching, but it's an unlimited canvas. And so, you can, I can keep drawing on it, I can also attach PDF files on it. So for the day's PDF material that I'll be using, I'll just drop it on the Freeform. And, the students will also have this sheet. And so I can annotate that sheet while they're working on it. So, it's Freeform is one thing we can talk more deeply about. But in addition to just, I can also face the students, while I teach. I'm holding the iPad in my hand, typing, and I'm facing the students. It's more engaging. They can see my eyes. I can walk around. Some students are very quiet, and I can walk next to them and still edit the board.
So the iPad will be in its Magic Keyboard as you're doing this?
No, just the iPad.
Okay, because you mentioned typing, so I wasn't sure if you had some kind of Bluetooth keyboard in the classroom as well, kind of just sitting on a table somewhere.
No, my Magic Keyboard stays home.
Okay.
I just use a pencil when I go out.
Oh, and typing virtually, just on the little virtual keyboard.
Well, I don't really need to type as that much, but only to enter URLs or find videos on YouTube or something. But usually I'm just using the Apple Pencil and drawing like a whiteboard.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. Yep.
So with supplementary content with the iPad, I can show videos, I can show graphics, I can show animations, I can show photos. And one thing that's really amazing actually is games. Like, you know, learning is best when learning is fun.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking for sort of games that are like group games instead of multiplayer internet games. These are multiplayer group games on educational content. And so I'm kind of tricking them into learning by uh, using the Freeform app, and it's at some portions of it throwing up a little game, so they're um, taking what they learned and using that in a game situation, or showing a video, or showing animations. It's really powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah, I know learning another language, entertainment can be huge. Like, if you're trying to learn Japanese, play all these old Japanese, NES games, and you'll learn it hopefully. And watching movies from another country's native language can be a powerful thing. Just hear them talk, natively, and all of that.
Oh, well, I think learning in general, like education is one thing and entertainment is another thing. And so I call it edutainment. And so, like, I really feel it hit me when I started doing this. And I thought that if Steve Jobs was a teacher, he would use an iPad for sure.
For sure, yeah. So we have the Translate app by Apple. Is that almost a teaching tool where you can say, here's what this is saying, but this is why this is wrong? Because it's probably not doing a 100% job of the translation. Is that something you've experimented with, like trying these like Google Translate and things, or are those getting better where they're actually accurate and that's not as much of a teaching tool?
I do actually use it. In the English class, generally the rule is you have to speak English because
Okay.
you're trying to get them to express what they want in some way in English.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times when I have that Translate app in a slide over. Sometimes I use Google Translate. Actually, I think I use Google Translate on the slide over
Okay.
because not only does it translate, it also does voice to text.
Mm.
So,
Which the
so
new one does on iOS as well now.
okay, well, I'm experimenting with that, but I do use that on occasion to translate some things. Which brings me to another point. There was a week when I lost my voice and I had to teach. And and one of the and like I just had to teach, and I have a soft voice in general for teaching. So one thing I experimented was this voice to text or text to voice app.
Mm-hmm.
And like I set it up because there's some common phrases I use, like Eric, be quiet, please, or something. So I would make a list of phrases and a list of names. And in class, I spent the whole class teaching using just the text to speech. I didn't say a word. And I would click on Eric, and then I'd click be quiet, or okay, everyone open your worksheet, or get ready for the quiz. And it was really interesting. I mean, I wouldn't do it daily, but I found that the students got a kick out of
I'm
it.
sure they did.
and
Yeah,
and
that's
I
wild.
managed to teach 2 days using that, and it worked.
Oh man, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as course material, what is the course material and how are you getting it into the iPad?
Yeah, so I've used the iPad scanner heavily. Like every time I go to class, there's to the class the school already has a certain topic, certain subject that they want you to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have these general worksheets, which is part of what I use. And the students have to finish those worksheets. Before, I used to do it on the board, and you can only show what you write on the board. But with the iPad, I scan in the worksheets, and then during the part of the class where we're working on the worksheet, I just open it up in Freeform, and it opens up the native PDF viewer or something. And then while the students are working on it, I can also write on the worksheet themselves so they can see exactly where I am. And it works great. So I'm every day I'm like scanning documents, and the scanner is like necessary for me.
How proficient is you're great at English, obviously, native English speaker.
Oh.
And you don't speak in their native tongue at all during class, right? Like
No.
is okay. And if you did need to communicate in that language, you would need to use the Translate app. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I have a TA, but generally the rule in the class is English only. Once they get into the classroom, it's an English only zone.
Okay, that makes total sense. Yeah, and yeah, it's also hard for them to speak behind your back if they're having to do it in English, I guess too.
Uh, yeah, they'll get busted for
Yes.
speaking Chinese or any other language
Yeah.
for that class.
What's their age at this point, or multiple grades?
But these kids are between like right now it's between 6 and 11, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as you using the iPad, a is that a weird thing for them? Like, is this technology that's like oh, he's using this super expensive thing that is it's not a barrier breaking thing where it's like a weird thing to be using in their kind of environment?
No, I like try to make the technology invisible, even though it's right in front of their face. But I'm really like moving around, going up to them, talking to them. In the beginning, they're like, "What is this?" And after a little bit, now they don't even notice. They don't even notice that I'm using an iPad. Um, and I'm just, constantly switching between apps and um, sometimes, sometimes I don't need the iPad or I'll put a video on. It's just kind of very flowful that they don't even notice it, which is what I want. I don't really want them to focus on the technology.
Yeah. So outside of Freeform, what are the other apps you're frequenting as you're teaching?
Yeah, a lot of simple apps, like for example, spin the wheel. So, so kids were complaining like, "Oh, you didn't pick on me, or you're always picking on them," and only certain students volunteer. And then, when if I'm just doing it by raise your hand, other students are not going to volunteer, so they'll
Mm-hmm.
start dozing off. So I have a wheel spinner, and all the students' name is on the wheel spinner, so they have to stay on the edge of their seat because they don't know if they're going to be picked next. And so every time I ask a question, I spin the wheel, and whoever gets chosen kind of has to answer the question. And if they get it right, then everyone in the class gets a super point. And if they don't, then nobody gets a super point.
That's really cool.
I use, yeah, I use a chakra chime. So it's like a
Okay.
bell app. When everyone's starting to be noisy or talking or something, I push the button and my speaker is a quite nice Bluetooth speaker and a big bell sounds. Boom. It's like a meditative bell.
Yeah.
And at first they're like, "What is this?" But they know when the bell goes off, it's time to be quiet. So I use that. But yeah, YouTube I use a lot. Sometimes I use Apple TV during break time. I put on some cartoons sometimes, just like so they can chill out and watch Tom and Jerry or something.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but the main app by far is Freeform, and that's the killer app for me.
And are you using a single board that just is ever expanding as you go from day to day?
Yeah, and I use a single board, and I just keep expanding it. But every day I start it kind of fresh
Okay.
with some things that are always there, you know. But one of the nice things about the iPad also is that, if you're teaching from a whiteboard, you can't really save your lesson for the day. But with the iPad, like I have an archive of every single lesson of every single day. So I wish Freeform had a more file system where you can put folders and stuff like that. But right now, it's just a list of whiteboards that goes on for on and on.
Did any of the updates with iPadOS 18 for Freeform intrigue you? I'm trying to think what was that. I thought I heard something about scenes where you could have different scenes of Freeform stuff. I'm not sure if that's right.
I wouldn't know. I'm the kind of person that likes to wait for the beta to finish so I can enjoy the final product.
You're very patient. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like one of those things. Like, if Apple always kind of leaks stuff about their products, then what would be the joy of WWDC or their iPhone presentation? It's kind of, for me, it's like, I have to wait. I really want to try it. but if I try it now, then I won't be. I feel excited to try everything when it's like officially released.
Yeah, I get that.
Uh,
Yep, for sure.
but I would kind of like to try it earlier just so I can give them feedback because there are bugs I face.
Yes, yes. And sometimes they listen to feedback, so it's nice to send that in and kind of shape the OS a bit. So with Freeform, you're inputting the class documents through the scanner. Does Freeform itself have this built-in scanner, or do you have to like do that in files?
No, I can do it in Freeform itself. I used to do it in files until I found out I can do it in Freeform. And so I just dumped the documents of the day right on the board.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all right there.
Super cool.
But however, I would say that, the really frustrating thing is I scan the documents in,
Yeah.
and in Freeform they open up in their default app, and I don't know if you have a solution for this, but there are some show-stopping bugs. Like I can be annotating a document, and after a while, all of a sudden the document will flash, and I'll lose like maybe the last 1 minute of whatever I annotated,
Hmm.
which is really bad during class to have these glitches.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, and sometimes I copy and paste something in the PDF app, and it and I save it and close it, and I open it up, and it's just like it's garbage. So there's some bugs that I wish they would fix, but I have a feeling like there's not many pro users for iPad like complaining about these things.
Yeah, that's something I don't use a ton of and am not run across. So it's using like a quick look view of the PDF within Freeform to do all this stuff.
I actually don't know, but when I double click it, it just opens up an app, a
Okay.
basic PDF
PDF
type
thing.
app,
Okay.
and that's what I use. It works fairly well, but it just has some bugs, which is
Gotcha.
a little problematic.
Let's see. Any other classroom stuff? Any other freeform stuff you're doing? Like, are you so you're putting the PDFs in there, and you're also jotting things down as you're instructing? Like, are you writing out English words and like so they can see it?
Yeah, it's like just dynamic, depends on the day, but I'm just using it as a super whiteboard, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm always finding creative ways to use it, but it's just kind of like the name of the app is Freeform. I use it in a freeform way. Yeah, I don't know what else to say except that it's really enhanced the teaching experience, and I found that other teachers are starting to get inspired by it and using it as well instead of the whiteboard because you can just do so much more without being immersed or lost in the technology. Technology kind of gets out of the way as long as you can manage the bugs.
When you're showing the videos in class, do you put subtitles on?
Sometimes, not all videos have subtitles, but I try to find the appropriate video for the material and kind of simple videos.
And they would be English subtitles if you did put them on.
Yeah, unless it's a complicated video I had to show for some reason
Yep.
that's really above their English ability, and if that had uh, Mandarin subtitles, then sometimes I would use it. It really depends.
Okay. I don't think any apps would let you show two pairs of subtitles at the same time, right? It's one or the other, right?
I don't know. I feel like no. Does Apple TV allow you to do that?
I'm not sure,
Maybe.
quite honestly. I didn't think so,
Yeah,
but I'm not a big
that would
subtitle
that
person
would
in
be
general.
that would be fantastic for learning a language.
It would be. It'd
But
be very interesting,
yeah,
right?
yeah, but I don't know of anything
Okay.
like that except specialized apps, specialized video apps,
Right, yeah.
educational teaching apps do that.
Any other kind of out there apps that are you're using in the classroom for teaching?
Let me think. Just text to speech, Shocker Chime, Spin the Wheel, like these really free kind of
Yeah,
simple
yeah.
apps. Freeform, and just like I said, YouTube, and I use Apple TV because they have some content sometimes. Sometimes I use the YouTube within Apple TV instead of screen sharing because it just works better.
And the students completing their homework, that's all done paper in Taiwan, right? And you're just grading it with a regular pen. You're not scanning their homework in to to grade it.
Yeah, I would have found a better solution for that, except I don't have to do the grading. So
Oh, you don't? Okay, that's even better.
so I didn't really think about a better solution for that. Um, but if I were grading, I would probably think about that. Any way to make my time more efficient.
Right. Yes. Well, anything else on the teaching before we move on to some of the other topics here?
That's all I can think of at the moment.
Okay. So, music creation and live performance is the next thing on our list here. Is that outside of like photography? Is that one kind of your main hobbies outside that you use on the iPad?
Yeah, I've been playing the harmonica for the last 6, 7 years pretty seriously. It's a very it's like kind of a lifelong hobby that I keep wanting to improve little by little. And I found the iPad to be really yeah, great for music. Combining an analog instrument with the digital technology of the iPad.
I love this. The harmonica, as a kid, I was always like envious of people that could play the harmonica because it's like such a portable little tiny instrument that just can create some really cool sounds as you like inhale. You do a different kind of sound as you're exhaling, and
Yeah. I would call the harmonica the easiest instrument you can play badly.
Exactly.
Because,
Yeah. Outside of like the kazoo or something,
Yeah, but to play it well, to learn all the techniques of it, it takes quite a bit of practice. It's very easy to play badly, though.
Yes, I would say that's very accurate. Because I'm trying to even think how you. So you can even play like half of a like a square to get a different kind of sound out of it. Is that right?
Well, we can get really technical about the harmonica, but I would just say there's 10 squares, 10 squares, 10 holes, and you either blow out or breathe in. So each hole can make two sounds.
Okay.
So that makes 20 notes. However, once you get advanced, you can learn a technique called bending. So you can play the in-between notes from the blow and the draw, and then you have unlimited notes actually, but it's a very difficult, time-consuming skill to learn.
Yeah, it's like circular breathing for those, clarinet and all that stuff where you can theoretically play forever without needing to stop to breathe, where you're breathing in your nose as you're breathing out to your mouth, which I've never really gotten a hang of.
Not really, but I think we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Yeah, as a complicated thing you could do on instruments, not at all the same as far as that sounds more like altissimo, where you're playing notes out of harmonics on like a saxophone, where you're like, technically the saxophone stops at whatever note, but you can play even higher if you reach the altissimo kind of notes.
But you know what I wanted to talk about with relation to the harmonica was how I use the iPad to play live music with it.
Yeah, because the harmonica is purely acoustic, right? There's no like electronic harmonica.
Right. So I have I have the iPad and I have a harmonica microphone, and I have this something called what is that? USB Jam Plus audio interface. It's like a USB interface that allows me to connect my microphone to my iPad.
Okay.
And it also allows me to connect this interface to my speaker, which is the same speaker I use at school. It's a speaker that has an auxiliary in. And it's kind of hard to share without the visuals.
Yeah. But am I okay including this image in kind of the show notes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Because what it looks like is the harmonica is kind of screwed into the Hohner harp blaster. Is that literally like screwed in? Am I seeing that right?
No. The Hohner harp blaster is a microphone. It's a green microphone.
Yep.
And it's connected by XLR to an XLR cable.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm seeing, the screw is just in the harmonica itself build, and it kind of looked like it from that kind of perspective.
No, the harmonica is not screwed in at all.
Okay.
I just hold it and I put the microphone right up against it.
Right next to it. You don't get hand noise as you're like holding it?
You can, but just get better at it
Okay.
and learn how to get the sound you want and learn how to get interesting sounds as well. But the main thing is that like, the harmonica, this microphone connects to the iPad,
Mm-hmm.
and the iPad is running GarageBand, and I have different, I guess you call it synthesizers or different sounds. So in real time, like the acoustic sound gets translated to a synthesized sound on the
Okay.
iPad,
Yep.
and it goes out into the speaker. So while I'm playing, I can get really interesting sounds and there's no delay, or there's no noticeable delay.
Yeah. The latency.
So it's just like, usually people use an amp or something else, but I'm using the iPad while I play live and just being able to change the sounds and using my little Bluetooth speaker and perform live with it like that. It's pretty cool.
And you have some different presets to make it easy to hop between the different ones.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love doing that, and also just recording music. This thing, iPad's great for playing live music as well as using the same setup just to record music. It's like I don't have to shift to a different program. I would love to use Logic Pro, but I'm on the 2020 iPad, and I don't know how well it would work. I definitely wouldn't get that new feature which I really want, which is what is that new feature?
Oh, where it can strip the different tracks and the different things.
Yeah, stem splitter or
yeah,
something?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an M1 only, I think.
Yes.
It would probably run on your iPad Logic itself, but that feature I think is M1 related.
Yeah, that feature one, and that feature would be useful because I can take a song I like, strip out the vocals.
Yeah,
the music and,
I mean, you could play with John Coltrane Quartet, get rid of John Coltrane, and be playing the lead on harmonica.
Yeah, it's great when you're doing it as a hobby for fun and like such a good learning tool and performing tool. I mean, just as a hobbyist, not as a professional stealing or doing something professional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you doing it as a soloist, or do you play with other people for these performances?
Both. I like using the iPad and putting some background track, like some guitar or some other background track, combined with my live performance.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get better, maybe using like some, just some live different things while I'm performing. But I also like playing acoustically with people too.
Yeah.
So both.
And you're hooking this up to the same speaker you use in the classroom, just through a wire this time?
Yeah, use an auxiliary cable, and it's a small speaker, but it sounds pretty loud and pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else on the music stuff?
No, I just it's another key use of my iPad, and I really love how much I can do with it in a very simple manner.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really flexible tool, which is part of what I love about it. And I think USB-C, that transition really opened things up. You don't need like these weird adapters to try to hook up to like the Apogee Jam and stuff like that.
Yeah, just now give me 2 USB-Cs.
I would love that. And there was rumors this M4 would have a second, but that of course never happened.
Yeah, right.
So for now, those Thunderbolt docks and USB-C docks come in handy.
Right.
And you have one for your home setup, right? A USB-C kind of hub.
Oh yeah. I have some Amazon USB hub that's pretty simple and it works pretty well. I haven't had any problems with it.
Yeah, what are you hooking up to that?
You mean the hub? What
yeah.
am I hooking up to it?
Yeah, the hub, yep.
Like HDMI or my projector or a hard drive, USB-C hard drive, or I have one of those DJI Pocket cameras.
Okay.
And I'm always using it, for hard drive or connecting my camera, SD card.
Yep.
So all sorts of things.
Nice.
Yeah.
And since we last spoke in September 2022, how has your film and photography kind of workflows and things changed or updated, if at all?
It hasn't changed much. I'm doing simple videos. I wish I could use Final Cut Pro, but I'm using LumaFusion because I'm on the 2020 iPad.
Yes.
but it still fulfills my needs. It's just not as nice. It still works well enough for what I want to do, but it's getting close to that time. But yeah, not much has changed. I just used Photomator and the built-in Photos app for photo editing. I use LumaFusion for video editing. I do short. I'm working on short films using LumaFusion. Nothing longer than a few minutes. But yeah, the iPad is great for video editing for my purposes. Not for making like a 2-hour film or something, but for these short pieces, it's
Yeah.
really great.
And you're doing a lot of capture on the iPhone for that?
Actually, that's an interesting topic because I use the combination of the Pocket camera and my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the Pocket camera is a fairly new, interesting camera from DJI. You might want to take a look at it.
And that's
It
a
has
drone company, right?
It's a drone, but this is not a drone camera. It's like a very different form factor camera that has a gimbal camera head, a physically gimbal camera head that moves around 360 degrees. It has a 1-inch sensor, so it takes really quality low light video, better than the iPhone. And what's really cool though is that it connects to your iPhone wirelessly, so you can. I do a lot of video where I'm the subject, so I can put my DJI on a tripod and go far away and control and just monitor it with my iPhone and record it that way. It's very, very useful if you want to do any videos where you're actually the subject without hiring anyone.
Is this the Osmo Pocket 3?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
This looks wild.
It's fantastic. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was envisioning like a GoPro, little square box thing. But yeah,
This one has a 1-inch sensor. That's really
Yeah.
big. It takes very good low light filmmaking, very good quality.
Yeah, and it's got a little handle thing that you kind of hold on and it swivels around.
Very ergonomic, great for a lot of things, but it's just not as durable as an action camera. I wouldn't want
Right.
to drop it.
Yeah, you can't go swimming with this thing.
No.
And it's got its own little screen if you want to look at it that way as well versus just using the iPhone.
Yeah, I use both. If I want to be in the film, then I can go far away and get a very nice cinematic shot where I'm kind of just using my iPhone to see how it's framed.
And if you're using both cameras in a single video, is it jarring the difference in quality between the two?
I don't use my iPhone camera as much for that kind of thing.
Okay.
I use it more for journaling stuff. And these days, I used to use it more for that. But since I got this camera, it's kind of my main video camera. And I don't like to make things too complicated with having too many cameras and then getting a lot of different stuff to put in my video editing program. But also the DJI camera like tracks you. So that's another useful feature. The head moves along while you're walking and stuff.
Oh, that's super cool because you said the gimbal, it's motorized, right?
Right, exactly.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, very useful. Very unique.
And it's USB-C, I'd imagine?
It is.
And to get the data off of that, it's got like a built-in memory, and then is it just
built-in use an SD card.
Oh, SD card. Very nice. Okay.
Right.
That's super cool. I would love one of these things. I'm not sure if I would use it enough to justify its purchase, but this looks cool.
Plus, it has those wireless mics that you can get up these 2 DJI wireless mics, which are really small. I interview people with my camera, and so it automatically like synchronizes everything. Like you just turn on the microphones, put it on the subjects, and you're filming, and you're getting great audio like from multiple sources. All it's so simple and it's so unique. There's nothing like it.
That's super cool. I can imagine in a teaching scenario, like if you did have more technology in the classroom, like having the kids create a little short film in English would be a great teaching moment, but like you just don't have the resources to do anything like that to make that a thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, these days you can use iPhones and stuff like that and do something simple, but it's like there's a lot of possibilities depending on how much time, money, and all those things. Like anything is possible.
Yeah. In LumaFusion, they're close to their 5.0 update, which I think they've got some good stuff in there. I'm on the beta. I kind of forget what's new in there, but be on the lookout for that. They're still working on stuff.
Yeah, but I'm also looking at the new iPad, and I'm kind of a Final Cut Pro UI fan. Like I find the interface looks more sleek and more comfortable.
Yeah, Final Cut Pro, it's good on iPad. It's very different. Like it's really designed to it's touch first, which is great on iPad, where you're using the jog wheel and kind of it doesn't feel like it's built for keyboard shortcuts and using a mouse at all. It's which is probably what you'd want on iPad, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
As far as this AI thing, it was kind of just getting started. I'd say last we spoke, but it's really taken off since then. It's become a thing. Uh, so, do you have any initial thoughts on like ChatGPT and Apple Intelligence as well?
Yeah, I was just watching an interview with Steve Wozniak, and someone asked him like, "What do you think of AI?" And he's all, "I have AI, actual intelligence." I thought that was I thought that was really funny. And for me, like I prefer, I prefer to think of it as not artificial intelligence, but AA, like artificial assistance.
Yeah.
I find it very useful as an assistant for me. I found ChatGPT incredibly useful when my parents were coming to visit me in Taiwan. I asked ChatGPT, it's all about asking the good questions. Like, this is how my parents are. These are the kind of things they like to do. What's a good like 3-day plan for them coming here?
Sure.
And and like it gives me a really good starting point. But then like I take that and I modify it, but it takes a big step away, that resistance to start something.
Yeah, I can see that being pretty helpful. Like, planning out like a couple days and you can modify it from there,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, like as long as the AI is serving an assistant purpose for me and not taking away my creativity. I feel the same ways about photography. Like I tend to do it all manually, understanding aperture, ISO, shutter speed, how light works, because like that's empowering, and using the technology in the camera to assist my creative vision. But as soon as I put it on program mode, just click the button, it does everything. Then I'm unable to think of like it takes away my creativity and something unique I can produce. And also I like using my brain. I think it's a very healthy thing to do.
Yeah. It's still like it feels like a tool to me, right? AI feels like a tool. How like Finale and Sibelius feel like tools for making me help me write music through software. This is AI feels like a tool to get me started with something.
One time I had to write play a script for everyone in my class. And I only have so much time. I have to see what I can do. So I had ChatGPT help me write the scripts for each student.
Yeah.
And then from there you can modify it and edit it. But it's kind of like we have a spell checker. It's useful. There's a grammar
Yes.
checker. It's useful. But you should still know how to spell, and you should still understand grammar.
Absolutely. Are the text features in Apple Intelligence the ones that are most intriguing to you, or are some of the other ones of Siri knowing about your apps and that kind of stuff coming later?
I need a refresher. Can you tell me like some of the things that are coming?
So in 2025, there's going to be this ability for Siri to understand app intents. So developers can donate different things to the system. So you can ask Siri to like do this thing for you, and it can work across multiple apps and do that.
You know, what would be fascinating for me with regards to AI is like if I don't have to go to Google, like if I can just put Siri and it like, you know, it, like it can just eliminate the need for me to go to google.com. Like I think that's useful for me. This saves time, and like I skip whatever ads or whatever other things. And so so yeah, Siri would be useful. I think Siri needs to improve, and I'm interested to see what they do with it, especially with AI. Like I said, if it makes the tasks I do more efficient, any redundant thing, or just helps me out, then it's a great thing. What else is there?
There's the Genmoji, of course, so you can send some expressive emoji.
Yeah, I
And
don't
the
I,
image
I don't care too
playground
much about
stuff.
that.
Yeah. But yeah, the main thing I think is that inter-app communication thing through Siri and App Intense, which I think will be a huge deal next year when that eventually comes out. That's the main one I'm looking forward to. The search, it's a weird thing. Google just got declared a monopolist and using their power in a bad way, I guess is the word
Right,
for it.
right.
And in the court proceedings, it was found out that Apple was in their contract had to leave Siri and search kind of stagnant and couldn't improve it. And perhaps Apple will finally start improving Siri search because of this lawsuit that happened, which is interesting. And kind of sad that that was in the agreement that Apple couldn't make search better because of this.
Yeah, but like they could be doing stuff behind the scenes that we don't know. They're smart people. Um, I'm sure they probably thought like relying on Google search is probably not a good long-term benefit.
Yeah, they probably have a secondary thing ready to go once this gets officially
Who
knocked
knows?
out. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit careful on how I use AI because sometimes the intelligent stuff when the computer tries to make decisions for you, it doesn't do the right thing. It makes things more frustrating. For me, like a lot of people love photo memories. I'm one of those who don't like it. I want it off, but I can't get rid of it. It
Oh,
just keeps wanting to show me memories
yeah,
and
I do.
stuff.
I do. I'm a sucker for the memories, I must say.
Most people are, so it's probably great. But I wanted the ability to not use it as well, like not use things that are. I don't want the AI forced on me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the new Photos app is more flexible, letting you hide stuff that you don't want to see, and all that,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is good. iPadOS 18, it didn't get much unique to iPad, but it did get Apple Pencil kind of like fixing your handwriting a bit and the whole math notes thing. I know you
right.
teach English, but is any part of the
Yeah,
math
I
notes?
do math and stuff too as well in that.
Okay.
English, but I teach it with like all the subjects.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Is the math
yeah,
notes at all intriguing to you? Where you can write out in the notes app 4 + 4 equals, and it'll put the result in and all that.
it's intriguing, but I have a feeling that I'm probably not going to be using that.
Okay.
Like I know what 4 + 4 is, and
Yeah,
I'm not
well,
thinking
it could get more complicated, of course, as well. Like put in
and
variables, all that.
but the handwriting smoothing, like I think they had that for the Newton, and that's really good because I need help with that.
Yes.
I think that's great. Any handwriting intelligence where it can recognize what you write is useful because then it can be used as search. If you can take your ink stuff and turn it into data and make it useful for other things, I think that's great. I'll probably be using that.
Do you scribble at all?
Scribble?
Yeah, where you write
Um,
in the text box kind of thing.
oh no, because I found that got in the way more than it helped. It
Mm-hmm.
like came up when I didn't want it to.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't used it for a long time, and I actually found it kind of slow, to be
Gotcha.
honest, compared to swiping.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm super intrigued by the ability to copy digital text into the Notes app as your own handwriting if you're writing something. And I haven't gotten, yeah, I haven't done a bunch with this yet, but this all seems super cool.
Yeah, I think I'll still have to keep working on improving my handwriting for it to work better.
Yes, I would say that's accurate.
So
Yeah.
I'm still working on that.
Well, anything we didn't cover that you'd like to before we wrap it up?
I think just maybe a little bit about the future of like iPad hardware or iPad OS would be kind of interesting to talk about. How
Yeah.
much time do you have?
Yeah. Just a couple minutes here. So we just got the new iPads M4. They're super thin. They're a
Right.
delight to hold, as you know. You've been to the Apple Store.
I just wanted to bring up one thing. People talk about how folding iPads,
Yes.
and I was thinking about like on the Mac, for example, people keep talking about wanting a touch screen. Um, but Apple says no, that's not ergonomic to reach out and touch a screen like that. However, I think like they were onto something with what was that thing called? The touch bar or something?
Yeah. Which is on the
So,
keyboard. Yeah.
like, I think it'd be interesting if the iPad or Mac folds where the bottom half is where you touch it, And if you have a totally dynamic keyboard, like that changes depending on the apps, like that's the area that's ergonomic to touch and would make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, imagine having an iPad that's like the Magic Keyboard form factor, but the bottom half is a screen that folds down and it can turn into a keyboard, which it sounds terrible for people that love their physical keyboards, but I think for a lot of people, that'd be super compelling and neat.
Well, you know what Steve Jobs says is like the older people just die and the younger people can adapt to it.
Yes, indeed.
Even if it's not a folding screen, it could be a hinged thing.
Yeah.
But I think that area where the keyboard is traditionally is a useful area for innovation. And I think that would be cool to see if there's some interesting innovation in that area versus the upright screen area.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like that stuff could be super cool where they go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see if that comes to fruition one of these days. I'm sure they're testing that stuff.
Right. Just quickly, the other things I want for iPadOS, realistic things, is please give me global audio input-output control. And also multi-user, because one problem when I teach is that I'm having to use my account, my photos, my messaging. I have to put it on silent mode and make sure it's on silent mode. I have to make sure I don't open my Photos app. And like any day, like, you know, these are young kids, and like I don't feel comfortable with just everything. I want to have a teaching account.
Exactly.
And I want to share my iPad with, you know, somebody. I want to have a new account for them. So multi-user is a big one.
Yeah, I hope we get that. I know schools that have their whole setup have that, but not great for those that don't.
It'll happen, I think.
One day.
Hopefully.
In the infinite time.
One day. Maybe in the next 20 years.
Exactly, yes. Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. Evening for you, we're 12 hours apart, which is always a fun... it makes scheduling easy because it's like, oh, you're just 12 hours. Easy peasy.
Right, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's been great chatting and catching up.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you again. I love your podcast. I look forward to whatever else you have down the line.
Well, thank you. And where can folks follow you on online?
Like wherever, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. I like Threads a little bit. So my username is I am Rishi Ó, and it's IAMRISHIO. And my website is rishio.com, which was made in Craft, which we talked about before.
Yep.
Built on Craft on my iPad. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing too interesting going on there, but it'd be nice to connect with anyone who's interested to talk about iPad stuff or whatever.
Very cool. And yeah, you can go back and listen to the September 2022 episode for more on your photography stuff and craft as well, I believe we chatted about there. And yeah, I agree. Threads has been surprisingly delightful. The algorithm actually is surfacing stuff I care about and is getting me in conversations that are just interesting in a way that Twitter's algorithm just frustrated me. It's kind of interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I just wish there was maybe some new social media type thing outside of Facebook and X. But anyways, it's a different topic.
Different topic, yes. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
Well, that was my interview with Rishi. My thanks to Rishi for his time recording this episode. My thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. As a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. My thanks to everyone that supports the show. With that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.